Hi. Yeah. So I'm taking another stab. It's the only way you can do it in life, I guess. It right. So I've got this recording that I showed you recently, yesterday. Play with a screwdriver. Let's see. Screwdriver. I've used this screwdriver since I was a kid. I swear. It's ridiculous. It's bent. Used it for so many things. Did it actually get me to this point in life? Probably. Anyway, I remixed the song, and instead of playing it through Adobe Audition, it sounds a lot better with some of the plugins I have for Foobar 2000, so I'm going to play it on there. And I say take another stab because I've done this video like 3 times now. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, here it is. Yeah, repeat it because I'm an asshole. Alright, kind of, gonna end it there, I guess. I could do a little Minecraft video, but I'll do that to try to compartmentalize these things better, because I realize, of course, that people want that, even though I hate doing that. Bow to your needs, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, I did a bunch of Minecraft yesterday, and boy, I screwed up everything. It sucks. I like did all this work on my mob grinder, and now it doesn't work any better. It works not as good. And anyway, we'll get to that. Shit. Soon enough. Very disappointed. I have no idea what to do with it, because it's like so much work and I can't just reverse it. And frankly, I don't even know what's wrong. I don't know why it's not working. It just doesn't. But, that's life. Which reminds me, I gotta go upstairs and start the server. Even though I got my Linux box actually running, it doesn't have the server running. You want to know this? Why? Oh, so weird. Well, yeah. Most people can't tolerate the amount of time I dwell on things. / the amount I can shift if I want to. It's a hot mic, you know. Surprised it didn't feed back into my earlobe. It will when I do this, though. That's not cool. Alright, so yeah, not cool. Let's destroy! Slappy chick! You know, one of the funny things about metal in general is this notion that a lot of it comes from, white suburbia, and it's these people who want to have some kind of badass experience in life, who've had absolutely no exposure and don't want any exposure to the street and other countries that don't have as kind of laws as the United States does, and whatever, and and there's contradictions everywhere. I mean, the laws themselves prevent us from really being autonomous in a lot of ways. Even I mean, interdependence is important. Anyway, I could go on forever about a million things with that, but yeah, I mean, it's just the idea that I'm no badass, I can scream my head off on the microphone and talk about crazy shit, but in the end, my life is probably more dull than anybody I know or have ever seen or whatever. I don't want to, I don't know, I just don't want to reach out to the world. Don't want to reach out to the world. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I don't know. Interfacing, communicating with the world, not my forte. Very weak. I could practice it. I could, be magical about it, and if I really want my will, I'd succumb to the ways of man and become a witty fuck and, charismatic and behind closed doors do all this silly crazy shit I still do. I don't know, but I just don't have it into me to be that dishonest, I guess, which is a huge stumbling block, because it's like, at least in my opinion, because it's like, you're raised with this whole Christian honesty thing, and it's like, I don't know, man. It's gonna prevent me from going pretty far in life if I actually take that seriously. If I take that too literally, and you know, my tendency with my high functioning autism, if that's indeed what I have, is to be literal about a lot of things, and you know, to take Christ, God's commandment so seriously that I just have to be honest about everything. I can't lie about anything. Gotta be myself at all times. You know. I mean, it's not like I don't tell white lies here and there. I guess I do, but it's just so seldom. Like I gotta be absolutely transparent for some reason. I like that. What happened to that? It's like the string was out of tune. Sounds so shitty in this mic. Whatever. Fuck you. Things in the way. So I don't know what we're gonna. Let's hear it again. Such a retard. And it makes me think of the scripture. It's just like, in the last days, people will be worshippers of the craft of their own hands, or something like that. And it's like, yeah, pretty much. If these are the last days, possibly. You know, I mean, what is YouTube? What is all this posting on the wall? And I mean, it's a way of communicating, but not really. It's kind of a way of like, look at what I'm doing, and you know, fuck. It's all I want is like this. Somehow thinking that adulation is gonna like fulfill, and it just doesn't. I mean, it never has. When I have gotten adulation, which is fairly rare, but when it does happen, it's like, wait, what, this is the reward I wanted. So I don't know. I mean, I like this saying, you know, birth, art, death, because it's like, yeah, that's all there really is. Don't try to like expand on that. You know, I think it's a good reduction. You know, our lives are pretty meaningless, and there's just art. You know, they're just art, and everything is art. You know, the lawmakers, what they do is an art. Lawyers, what they do, it's just an art. You know, all the supposed control systems that we submit to, the way that we submit to them is an art. I don't know, whatever. I could go off forever on that shit, but it's like it's all art. You know, and depending on the aesthetic, I mean, you look at politicians and the way they operate, and there's an aesthetic in everything, right? In every operation. And, you know, I am overwhelmed by it so much, I just don't really worry about aesthetic at all in anything. Because it's just like, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's all arbitrary. I made a spreadsheet one time. And, you know, and the Greeks believed in this heavily, and I've talked about it before, and nobody cares, right? But nobody's listening, but I'm putting it out there again. You know, they believed in ratios, but they were missing the critical concepts of infinity and zero, and so with that you can build fractals. Even though they believed heavily in the golden ratio, was just built fractally, more or less. If you look at the equations, well, I mean, it's not a feedback loop like a fractal necessarily, but it's still based on an infinite series of additions. So really, that's really what a fractal is anyway, graphically. and mathematically. So whatever, however you want to spin it, I don't give a shit. So I made the spreadsheet, and it showed that with between the prime numbers of like 1 and 17, and you did, if you did 2 iterations of any ratios of those composite numbers under 17, any of the ratios that fall between 1 and 2, you could achieve any transition in tempo, more or less, which may not make sense. I don't know an easy way to explain it, but it's basically like, taking 2 simple fractions, more or less. Let's say I say 17 over 12. So they're relatively prime because 17 is prime and 12 is made up of, let's see, 2 times 2 times 3, right? Those are 3 prime numbers. So they're relatively prime. So if you take that ratio and multiply it by some beats per minute, say 120, you're going to get some number, whatever it is. I mean, we can do it right now. It's just a trivial exercise, really. 120 beats. Yeah, let's do the ratio first, right? 17 over 12. Now multiply that by 120 beats. Now you get 170 beats per minute, right? And the justification is, people do triplets, you know, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 1. Well, that's no, it's different. Bomb, bomb, bomb. 1 2 3 4. Bomb, bomb, bomb. See, there are things that are close too, like the 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. It's close to a triplet. 1 dun 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 dun, and then a triplet is dun 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 dun, evenly divided. That's a whole different issue, but. And you can transition between those and swing beats, and between those types of transitions, of different kinds of subdivisions, you can basically go from any. You have an excuse, more or less, to go from any tempo to any tempo, and that's my point here, is that this isn't easily achieved in a soundbite. I mean, I just explained it, and it may elude you, but it seems simple enough. You can justify any aesthetic action by a ratio, and there are infinite things you can measure and apply that ratio to. So basically, any aesthetic somebody comes up with is arbitrary. And it applies to language, it applies to paintings, it applies to sound. I mean, there's a million ways, an infinite number of ways you can measure something. Infinite ways. In other words, basically, if you put it mathematically, there are infinite Turing machines. There are infinite equations that you can come up with. That's an easy to understand illustration of it. There are infinite equations that you can come up with. You can always add a term to an equation, and the operation on those equations could be infinite too, right? There are infinite possible operations. There's not just multiplication, division, subtraction, and addition. There's also fucking like the logarithms, okay? The natural logarithm. I mean, they're all operations, squared, square root. And where do the operations end? Well, they don't. Operations and operands, they're infinite possibilities. And so you can always add a term. So that should make it obvious that, that any aesthetic is arbitrary. Because there are infinite ways to measure them, and infinite ways that ratios can be applied between them, and mathematics can be applied between them. And so anybody tells you that there's some magical fucking ratio, some design principle that makes things perfect, is bullshit. Because any chaos can be measured, but that measurement's always a you can only produce a simulation with that. The universe is fractal. There's no way to. So just don't swallow what people say. Basically, decide for yourself and realize that your own decision is just based off of some arbitrary measurements anyway. If you do it this way, then there's this measurement, and then if you do it this way, it's like, well, fuck it all, right? There's no right and wrong way. And the same thing could be applied to morality. I think it's just as arbitrary. I think it's all the aesthetics and ratios apply to that too. So I mean, that doesn't mean go out and kill your neighbor, and and then justify it by a measurement of the ratio between whatever and whatever. And I was just making some art, asshole. Well, yeah, I don't know, but I mean, you gotta submit somewhat in life, right? You gotta do, and when in Rome, do what the Romans do. But nevertheless, realize that Rome is fucked, just as arbitrary as anything else, and you submit to it so you don't have to suffer too much. But then the long-term suffering, it might be the same as the short-term suffering if you were to just rebel. So fuck, I don't know. Let's hear it again, yeah! Slappy tits! I don't know why I get so excited. It's fun. It's fun to rebel, isn't it? Alright, so we're done.